Just going for a ruck. I wanted to talk about a topic which I was reflecting about why was I not diagnosed with autism until I was an adult at 29 years old. And I think there are three main reasons for this, and I want to take you through them. The first reason is I've had OCD since I was 15 years old, which is now managed very well. However, earlier on in my life, the symptoms were very bad. When I was about 15, I got repetitive, intrusive thoughts questioning my sexuality. And then the theme has changed to a lot of other things. For example, I went through a phase of where I was obsessed with checking the safety of electrical appliances, and I would hoard chargers and power adapters and check appliances to make sure that there were no frayed wires and no exposed metal bits that could cause a fire or cause electrocution or could harm anyone. And I've had a lot of other OCD themes because the condition evolves over time for many people. So I think that these overt symptoms of OCD, excessive checking, OCD rituals, kind of acted as a distraction or mask from the underlying autism. So I think that's the first reason. And also, autism is commonly comorbid with OCD, and there are features of autism that can make OCD more likely to occur. The second reason why my autism wasn't picked up until I was much older is because when I saw a psychologist when I was very young to test whether I had autism, it was obvious that I had empathy. I could feel the pain of other people, and I've often felt the pain of other people for my whole life. When I hear a sad story that someone tells me, I sometimes cry. So this is very counter to the old belief of the fact that people with autism don't have empathy, which is actually incorrect. And I'll link you to the video that explains why this misconception exists and how to challenge that misconception. But basically, because I had signs of empathy, the psychologist at the time thought I couldn't have autism. But now, many years later, we have a much better understanding of autism, and people with autism can have empathy. They can have very strong affective empathy, which means feeling the pain of other people. What they struggle with specifically is cognitive empathy, which is building up a model of what someone else is thinking in your own mind by looking at their body language and gestures and combining that with other information. The third reason is because I also have ADHD, which was actually picked up and looked into before the autism was considered. And the reason for that is because when you have ADHD with autism combined, you get a different presentation, a different phenotype, if you will. And some people are referring to this as ADHD, which is not an official term, but it's a way to describe the combination. And basically, one example is, in some ways, I really want things to be the same way and I get upset with things being changed. But in other ways, my life can be quite chaotic and haphazard. So that's a simple example of how an ADHD symptom is kind of going against an autistic symptom. And this shows that when you blend ADHD and autism together, they create something different. And that's another reason as well. Another thing is that I believe that the ADHD encouraged me to speak to people more, and meant that I was more likely to throw myself into social situations and sometimes make mistakes in those situations, but then learn. So the ADHD kind of made me more likely to enter a social situation, but that meant that when I made mistakes in that social situation, I would then reflect on it and learn, and then developed my own form of cognitive empathy. So that's the other reason.